It's the California gold mine discoveries. Gold was discovered in the 19th century in California. To get the gold, miners dug tunnels into the sides of mountains at places like Table Mountain in California. And deep inside the tunnels and the solid rock, the miners found human bones and human artifacts. For example, they found many of these stone mortars and pestles. Now, what makes these discoveries so interesting to me is that they were found in layers of solid rock that belong to the early part of the geological period called the Eocene, which means they'd be about 50 million years old. These discoveries were announced to the scientific world by Dr. J.D. Whitney, who was the chief government geologist of California. His report was published by Harvard University in the year 1880. But we do not read about these things in the textbooks today because of the process of knowledge filtration. And this is the scientist most responsible for the knowledge filtering in this particular case. William Holmes, an anthropologist at the Smithsonian Institution in Washington. He wrote, "If Dr. Whitney had understood the theory of human evolution, he would not have published that report despite the imposing array of testimony with which he was confronted." I'll translate that for you who don't understand scientese. If the facts don't fit the theory, the facts have to be wrong. And they should be forgotten. And that's exactly what happened. However, a few years ago, I was a consultant for a television documentary called The Mysterious Origins of Man that was shown on NBC, one of the largest American television networks. The producer, a man named Bill Cote, had read my book, Forbidden Archaeology, and he wanted to include some cases from the book in the documentary. So I told him he should go to the Museum of Anthropology at the University of California at Berkeley, because I knew that some of the artifacts from the California gold mines are still in the collection of that museum. So he went there, but the museum officials refused to allow him to see the artifacts, what to speak of film them. Now, we were able to find some photographs of the artifacts that Dr. Whitney had taken in the 19th century, so he did have some images to use in the documentary. But it was interesting what happened. This documentary featured not just my work, but the work of other researchers in the alternative history field, like Graham Hancock and others. When scientists in the United States found out that NBC was going to show this television program on a Sunday evening at a time when many innocent young children would still be up watching the telly with their parents, they went ballistic. They tried to stop NBC from showing the program. They weren't successful. It was shown. It was quite popular. So then this group of scientists went to the United States government, to the Federal Communications Commission, which is the agency of the government that regulates the TV broadcasting industry. And they tried to get the government to investigate NBC, censure NBC. They wanted the government to force NBC to broadcast primetime apologies for having shown the program. And they also wanted the government to fine NBC millions of dollars so they would never do any such thing again. Now, I'm happy to say the government didn't do any of those things, but I thought it was very interesting that these organized attempts to do this were made by the scientific community. Now, later, I went back to the museum myself. I was preparing to give a report about these discoveries at a meeting of the World Archaeological Congress, of which I'm a member, and which is the world's largest international organization of archaeologists. So my proposal to present such a report was accepted by the Congress. So I went to the museum officials with a letter of acceptance, and they decided they would let me personally see these artifacts. They're not kept in the museum itself. They're kept in a storage building several miles from the museum. And I had to be accompanied by a museum official every step of the way, go through all kinds of security. And these are some of the artifacts from the California gold mines. Now, if you went to the museum, you would never see them. I mean, sometimes people think this idea that there are strange things in the storerooms of the museums, that's just Hollywood movie material, like from Indiana Jones and films like that. But it actually is a fact, as we heard from Brian a little earlier today, and now from me, there are some pretty strange things in the storerooms of the museum that the general public don't get to see. I also studied Dr. Whitney's original maps and field notes, and then I went into the mountains of California. This is Table Mountain as it looks today. And we were able to find some of the old gold mining tunnels where these objects were originally discovered. Now, how far back in time can we go with evidence like this? In the year 1862, a scientific journal called The Geologist published an interesting report. A human skeleton was found 30 meters below the surface of the ground in Macoupin County in the state of Illinois in America. According to the report, above the skeleton was a thick layer of slate rock that was unbroken. That's an important detail. It kind of rules out the intrusive burial hypothesis. And according to modern geologists of the state of Illinois, that layer beneath the slate rock at that place is about 300 million years old. This interesting report from, oops, got a little bit ahead of myself there. You saw into the future. You had a premonition of what's coming. This interesting report from Scientific American from the year 1852 tells of a beautiful metallic vase that was found 5 meters deep in solid rock near the city of Boston in a place called Dorchester. I think there's a place like that in England, isn't there? But this is the American Dorchester. It was a beautiful silver inlaid vase with some beautiful floral pattern engraved in it. And it was found 5 meters deep in solid rock. And according to modern geologists of the United States Geological Survey, the age of the rock at that place, at that depth, is about 600 million years. So I could keep you here from now until Christmas going through one case after another because there are hundreds of these, but we don't have time for that. But the point is, there is archaeological evidence that contradicts the idea that humans like us appeared fairly recently, within the past 150,000 years on Earth. And this archaeological evidence is consistent with the writings of many ancient wisdom traditions, such as the ancient Sanskrit writings of India, which tell us humans have been present on Earth for millions and millions of years in the course of cyclical time.